everybody. Good evening. How we all doing? This is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I am sitting in tonight for the amazing Mr. D, Mr. Davis himself. He has trusted us with this his space here for The Secret, and I'm going to be on this. I'm going to be in the pilot seat. So without further ado, I got our special guests tonight. Not only are they sisters, but they are identical twins. I got Jocelyn, and we have, I'm sorry, I can't see the name. I'm sorry.
Josephine.
Grace, Josephine, yes.
Josephine.
That's right. Josephine, right. So you guys are from where?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, you guys even talk at the same time. That's great. That's awesome. Are you guys like in the next room? Are you guys like in the same?
No, she lives across the street from me.
We live across the street from each other.
Do you guys have the same cars?
No.
Oh man, that would have been so cool if you did. But that's funny that you guys live across the street from each other. When you guys were growing up, did you guys used to tell people when you moved to places that you were just one person, and then you guys could go to class and just each one would switch classes?
No.
We did switch classes.
We switched seats. We didn't switch classes.
But
awesome.
They end up when we was in middle school, we was in a classroom where it was 3 sets of identical twins, 2 girls and 1 set of boys. And we were all identical. Then the teacher kept getting confused, so they split us all up.
What's your if you got one story to tell about being identical twin, which would be your guys' like utmost, like you tell everybody this story about yourselves?
It suck.
One story.
How about the current one?
Everybody assumed we one person, including Walgreens. Like, it's worse as an adult than it is a child, because it started getting legal. And honestly, They just brush it off like, oh, well, like, you should be used to it. I'm like, no, I shouldn't. Yeah. They entwine medical charts. They put all my medication in her name because, like we said, she stay across the street. Yeah, so they don't help it.
Right. That's crazy.
But one story to be a twin, me and her got pregnant a year apart, and our kids are a year 6 days apart from each other, and they look just
with the same due date.
Yeah. So that's a good story. When she went in labor with her oldest son, I was in a hospital with back pain.
My dad was downstairs in the emergency room with her, and my mom was in labor and delivery with me.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's funny as hell. That's funny. That's crazy. Well, what's going on with CPS? You guys don't have any collection stories that way, are you?
We're on the other end of the CPS, so we was taken advantage of while we were in CPS by CPS, but the abuse didn't come from my foster mother. It came from the bio mom and her manipulating the system, and they was aware of the neglect before we were born.
So to give it a little history. My bio mom, we are the 8th child, both of us. Well, 7 and 8. A crack addicted mother, prostitute, didn't know who the father is, on the street, drugs. When she gave birth to me and my sister, we tested positive for crack cocaine, had to go through withdrawal. We were 3 pounds, born early.
I died at birth and was on a ventilator.
Oh my God. Wow.
But they released us back to her care.
Oh, of course they did. Of course. Hey guys, so let me introduce. This is Stacy right here. She's going to co-host with me now.
Hi,
Stacy,
everybody.
this is perfect time for you to come in.
Hi, how are you doing?
We just got going, so it's perfect.
Thank you, Darren. Yeah, I'm standing in today for Miss G because she has an emergency in her family. So it's, an honor to step in for Miss G because we all love her. And so, Yeah.
You
So,
Stacy,
so
real quick.
yeah.
Well, one second, guys, if you don't mind me asking, Stacy, real quick, crack addicted babies.
Yeah.
Like, what is like? How terrible is that for the baby? I mean, obviously it's bad, but like, what does it do physically to these babies when they come out and they're crack addicted? I know you work in the nursing field, so like, what are some of the, like the
Okay,
hardships that they have to endure?
So are you ladies twins?
Identical.
Wow. That's an amazing thing that you had a crack addicted mother and you survived as twins. I know that you said you died at birth and were on a ventilator, but mothers of twin gestation is a complication of pregnancy in and of itself. So the risk of prematurity and so forth, just by being twins, regardless of what your mother did or didn't do, is already risky. I had identical twins. I'm a mother of identical twins too, actually. And my twin girls were born, they were 36 weeks gestation, and they were both like 6 pounds, 3.4 ounces, something like that. But tragically, at the same time, in the same recovery room, was a mom, and her twins were born at 28 weeks. So
we were 3 pounds.
So, I mean, what happened to you at birth could have just happened even without your mother being addicted to drugs. But prematurity is absolutely associated with mothers that are doing drugs. Miscarriage is very common with mothers doing drugs. Low birth weight is common. Going through withdrawal, all those things are very, very common. Kids having ADHD and problems like that growing up, are just some of the things. But yeah, it's so both of you are miracles, really, because you beat the odds.
Not from her eyes.
Yeah. Well, you are.
She went in labor. She didn't go in just labor. She literally tried to kill us. She jumped off 27th Street Bridge here in Wisconsin.
Wow.
Trying to kill us. She jumped out of a car.
So how many weeks gestation were you ladies?
She don't know. She don't know.
She never had any medical care for her. She didn't even know she was pregnant with twins until she went in labor.
Yeah, but when you were born, they should still be able to tell how many weeks you probably were.
We don't have any records.
Oh.
Yeah, the records. No.
The hospital
our records. So as we tell our story, you'll notice, like, I don't know if you're in front of a computer and you can look up Wisconsin. We fell under a reform law. Our records been picked through, scattered, and they only gave us what they wanted us to have.
Yeah.
And it took 20 years to get it.
Yeah.
It took 20 years.
But you both had a good experience in the foster system?
Crap, no.
With the home that with the home that we was in, yes. Like when DCF, like the stories I hear when they take kids from their biological people and they misjudge and they don't care, they didn't care about nobody. Like during the decade, I was born in 1987. So during that period of time in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the urban crack, all of that, pandemic, it was so much going on where it was just like chaos here. They moved everybody, even the people that should not have been touched. So not only did they go after innocent people, like innocent mothers and fathers and families, and break that up, but they also went where the kids were safe and moved them in harm's way.
But it's also amazing because the system is that horrible. It's amazing that as twins you remained together, because I'm surprised they didn't separate you.
We were separated.
They did.
We were separated.
They did.
So to start it all off, we were taken at 15 months from our bio mom, and we are, like she said, we're the 8th child. She already had history of all her kids were already in the system. If the ones was grown. So she already had children in DCF care at the time we were born, which I don't even understand how we wasn't taken. So once we was 15 months old, we was walking on the street and DCF was in the Child Protective Service was in contact, and somehow we were taken. My Josephine was taken to a relative house, a aunt, and she was with my brother, and I was with my uncle, and I was with another sister. So we were separated. They didn't want to deal with the bio mom's addiction and deal with her boyfriend at the time, who was also her pimp. So they didn't want us in. They didn't want to deal with us at that time because they knew they would have had to deal with the mom at one point. So somehow she convinced a lady to let to take us to one of her family members' house, and we end up going there. That became our foster mother, the first one. So now she has 4 kids that's under the age of 4. So she couldn't take care of me and my twin because we were young and we all had problems. So she gave us to her daughter.
Yeah, that is a lot.
Who is now my foster mother. So
Wow.
they did that to try to keep us all together, though, so we can go over there and see them every day. We can be with them
Nice.
and give us some kind of normalcy of what a healthy, relationship as a family is. We stayed there in that home till we were 7. Out the blue at 7, a social worker said, "Now you have to go and live with your bio mom."
We didn't know
it. Uprooted us. We was abandoned for 7 years. This woman had no contact with us. She had no means to even try to get us back. She didn't have a job. Everything that could have been thrown at her, she did not do.
So it was like going to live with a stranger.
She just got out of prostitution again. She failed drug tests. Like, they didn't do abandonment after, like, the law is 3 months. After 3 months and no contact is abandonment. Like, nothing. And we had to go meet somebody.
This case makes me remember a case that I'm working on right now when I go to visit them like probably every other month in New York City. Their child was taken away from them because of false accusation of educational neglect. And I say false accusations because I went to the house and I saw all the work product from their homeschooling. And no matter what they do, they're getting such resistance to get their child back. But here, this crack addicted person that tried to commit suicide and kill her babies is being, bestowed these children upon her that she's not even safe for. But yet this false educational neglect. And I'm telling you, when I went to this family's house, they have like 3-inch binders, like 30 of them from their work product with their daughter. It's crazy. Wow. It's supposed to be like equal protection under the law and, not discriminating her. But
at the time she would get high, and if it was the first of the month, we didn't go to school. If she beat us and it's a scar there, we didn't go to school. If we didn't have, when we did go to school, and that's crazy because when we were taken from her, she was able to take us out of our private school where my mother was paying tuition for us to be there, to put us in a public school. Then when we get into public school, she was MIA. My mother had she had a relationship with the principal, and the mom was so high that she didn't even realize when we came home from school, we had on different clothes. Our hair was done. My mother would go up to the school with changing clothes, do our hair, we take a shower in the gym, and she'll feed us. Any report card we ever got, any pictures we got, anything dealing with our school, all went to my foster mother. They didn't even attempt to even reach out to the bio mom. She didn't even know how.
Jocelyn's teacher at that time stayed on the corner of the house of where my mother and my father. So when I say mother and father, that's my foster parents. Those are my parents.
I understand.
When I say bio mom, that's her. But Jocelyn's teacher stayed literally right on the corner. And she used to help communicate when we were taken and back to try to get us safe.
Because I have twins myself, and my twins are identical girls as well. One thing that I think is such a blessing for my twins and for both of you ladies. You always had each other's love. And you taught each other love and you had each other's love. And I think that was so significant to your ability to prevail through all of this.
But my aunt asked
That's
us,
my sidekick.
She's left-handed, I'm right-handed, so you put us together, we're a whole brain.
We're
Wow.
mirror twins.
We're mirror twins.
Mirror twins,
That's
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we mirror twins.
My aunt asked me one time when I was talking to her, who is my biological father's sister. She said after finding out everything we went through, because we just found her during COVID, so we didn't know who any of these, nobody was. So she asked me, and it was interesting. She said, how did you know right from wrong? How did you know you did not want to live with your bio mother and that you wanted to stay where y'all was at because y'all were young? I said, I don't know. It was just, you go through something and we was already adapted to that life after 7 years. So when you be with somebody for that long, you're comfortable, you're safe. I didn't have to look over my shoulder. Then when we went to her house, it was chaos. It was shooting, it was drug use. 1 minute you got a TV, the next minute they're selling it. You in the house with no electricity. You had the house blown up because they owed the drug man money. So now you jumping off the porch. It was just, every day was like a survival moment. And it was like the show Shameless. Exactly at its finest. And it was like, if I gotta go through this much as a child, and just to live here and to survive, and I don't have to do that over there. I didn't have to worry about food. I didn't have to worry about, anything. I'm 36 years old, and my parents, I'm not saying they never argued. They just they never did it in front of us. My dad do not raise his voice, and I mean that, ever. And that was safe. But to have them hold you and tell you they love you and show you that security, you're not getting that over there. They ain't hugging you.
I have to say, I'm so happy to hear of a positive foster experience, and I've heard others as well. They're not the common theme though, but yet there's still the tone of CPS sending you back to basically a house of horrors.
They wasn't foster parents to begin with. They actually
were your own family.
My biological
they're
mother.
Not our family.
They know my biological mother. So when my biological mother was out prostituting, she had a friend. Not saying the friend was prostituting, but the friend ended up connecting the dot and putting us with her grandmother, where we went with my foster mother.
Well,
so they became foster parents only because of us.
Well, so that would actually qualify.
My mother and my father had 2 other kids after us, but that was like a trap. I ain't gonna say a trap, but they was trying to help an emergency situation and make sure that they had a proper place to go and wait until they was adoptable. Then they left, but really it was just me and Jocelyn. It was just me and her. But to go back into
So in New York State, I don't know the other state laws, but in New York State, that would still be considered kinship care. You don't have to be a blood relative to be considered what's called kinship care.
Yeah, not here.
Yeah, you could be a close friend of the family or a godparent, and that still qualifies as kinship care. And that's really how the system is supposed to operate. They're supposed to extinguish any suitable family members first before they go on to putting kids into care of strangers as actual foster parents. So this is actually how the system is supposed to operate. What happened to you, because research says that children thrive the best by staying within the family. So that's what they're supposed to do. But so many cases, they get little children and they'll put them into foster care because the states get more reimbursement. It's like the funding that they get from the federal government, there's no cap on the reimbursement that the states get when they put them into the care of strangers. But when they keep them in the family, there's a cap on that. So they usually try to take kids out and put them into the care of strangers.
My bio mom didn't know either party.
Yeah,
is there legislation?
but it's still you know,
I hope
a close friend of the family, and then that relative, where usually they would just rip you out and put you in a just completely different.
That's what they did. That's what they did. We didn't know any of them. And not to go into detail who that person is and how they knew my grandmother, knew my bio mother.
But it was no connection.
It was no connection.
Well, I thought you said that they went.
Okay,
it was
listen. Two people out here in the streets that I wouldn't say that's relatives or close relationships.
Oh, so they were both like having a problem. They were both having a problem, but then the one having a problem put you guys into the care of her grandmother.
Yeah, because the other one had no kids. It's just her. So, just drop your kids. She had no kids at that time.
Yeah.
So she can go.
Now, is there legislation that says like twins should stay together? Is there?
Yes.
Is there law?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah. You legally can't separate them, but we were separated at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's, again, I know in New York State for sure that the legislation, the law is written that siblings are not supposed to be separated, only if like one of them is dangerous to another, like say like one is homicidal or something, and then they take that sibling away from the other siblings to keep them safe. That's how it's supposed to be, but it pretty much almost never is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Somehow she manipulated the courts, because you heard the whole time when I was explaining, the mom's boyfriend was listed as boyfriend, at one point pimp, right? Fast forward, we go to court, 97, and all of a sudden the pimp is adjudicated father.
Why he's incarcerated?
We have a restraining order on him. She was TPR'd her rights, and somehow the man we have a restraining order becomes our adjudicated father.
Wow.
Not to
However,
mention,
listen. Hold on, Jock. Hold on. Here's the best part. And I can pull it up, my computer right here. So here's the best part. While the judges said they said we was Asian and black. And then the other one just said biracial. But they arguing with two African Americans.
So did your foster family want to adopt you, ladies?
yes. We went through the whole therapy process. We went through all the evaluations. We got down to the day that we was picking our names and we go to court. As we're sitting in court, at that time, the mom had lost her rights. Now, this is where the pimp becomes our father.
Yep.
As he's sitting there, he said he do not want us to be an adopted because one reason. He did not want our last name changed. Wait, it gets better than that. As he stops our adoption, this man is sitting in a
But they tried to blackmail my mom out of $150,000.
Yes, but wait, it gets better than that. The man that's saying he want to stop my adoption, that actually stopped it in the court of law, is sitting in jail. So when I contest, I ask for a paternity test, because if I can get a paternity test in the law, I have to look to this man as my father in order for me to say he's my adjudicated father. I can't do that with a restraining order on him for child neglect and a CHIPS order.
And you never live with him.
And I never lived with him. But he's sitting in jail. You have possession of this man. You're giving him 3 meals a day and a roof over his head, and you're telling him he's able to be our father from prison? How?
See, Darren, though, this is the way, right? All the parents that we speak to all the time that are dying, that want their children back so much, and here now this guy doesn't even deserve his kids or anything, and they want to throw these.
No,
kids
it was
into
a money scheme. Listen,
Yeah.
it was a money scheme.
We are a product of
a money
prostitution. We're directly that woman did not like us because we could not pass as her husband's children. That woman hated our guts. Do you know how many times, you wouldn't believe how many times she looked at my twin sister and told her she died at birth and she should have stayed dead. The only problem with that was she was so high, she don't even know us apart. I died at birth.
I don't mean to laugh at this. It's just
I laughed at it when I see when we just got our foster care records.
We just got our records.
She was getting them, and we're reading them. And I'm reading it. Say baby A ventilator, and it has my information on it. And I'm reading it, and I didn't get out the hospital until I was a month old. And I sent it to my sister. I said, I was the one born dead. I went 36 years thinking it was her. I'm defending her when she said it to her, not knowing she was talking about me the whole time. It's been.
But I said
but then she goes to say they're not identical. You don't even know it's apart.
Wow! Holy smokes! All right, okay.
Wait, the day that we found out that our dad was white, she said that it was on Ancestry. I'm gonna listen. Our life is a whole story. It's gonna take longer than it's hours. Trust me. And so when she found out he's white, she gonna say that's not right. He's Puerto Rican. Like, really?
So here's another DCS story to go for y'all. This lady contacted me during
You
COVID.
guys need your own show.
I know that. Listen, this lady contacted me during COVID. Her name is I can't think of, I don't know.
We finna write a book though.
It don't even matter. But the lady contacted me trying to get me to adopt, to become a foster parent. You know how people call and be like, hey, would you like to be a foster parent and all this? I'm like, y'all screwed me up. I'm good on that. Nope, I'm not dealing with y'all. I dealt with y'all 19 years. I'm not voluntarily to be with y'all.
Good for you.
So she was sitting there asking, and I was telling her what happened to us. And I said, what's crazy is what people didn't realize is we grew up in the 80s where biracial kids was hated. I don't care from either way, left or right. You get what I'm saying? To the white people, and we didn't even know our race at that point, so we just fighting to be fighting. So to white people, we're too black. To black people, we're white, but we don't even know the race. So we just fighting the whole invisible fight at this moment. But they don't realize when you grow up in foster care and we're living in a house with people that don't look anything like us, we already feel different. My mother already had a talk with us when we turned 7 and said, they're looking at you different because 2 black people can't make mixed kids. I'm out. Go.
Mind you, my foster parents are both African Americans.
They're both African Americans. Right. So when we go meet the bio mom at 7, and we're looking there like this, your mom and dad. Me and my twin sister look up. We call bullshit. So we never. So she been knew that we felt some type of way because again, my mom just told us 2 black people can't make mixed kids. So to fast forward, here COVID comes, and I was telling the lady what happened or whatever, and she was like, "Well, she adopted a biracial child, and she was trying to find his people through Ancestry." She said, "I have an extra test. Would you like to come get it?" So I'm like, well, let's go. Let me go. It's around Christmas time, so I end up taking it and doing it. Here, January come, and the test results come in. We did not know what our race was. We was talking about putting the different races, what they thought it was, and putting it in a hat and see who picked out the one that was closest to it. At this point, it was like the candy jar. So we already accepted and owned it. Like we never did anything to look for our biological father. We just knew that was a needle in a haystack and it was just a lost cause. At this point, we just trying to figure out what our nationality is, right? So when the results come in and I'm reading them, I'm more Caucasian, and I don't know how many different races of Caucasian you can get than I am black. So we end up finding our biological people on the tree. So my sister was talking to 2 cousins on Facebook, and they was trying to figure out the family tree. I'm not that good with that, so I wasn't going to figure it out. So what I did was step back, and I said, I actually went on Ayanna Fix My Life show, and I applied for her, and I screenshot it to them, and they thought I was playing. Like, I'm trying to figure something out. Get out of here. I'm out. So then I'm on the phone with my sister, and I say, you know what? I'm gonna go on Google. So I Googled this lady that actually deal with DNA, right? So I explained everything to her, and I said, I don't really have the money, to, pay for whatever the services is. If you can help me out in any way, shape, or form, I'll be grateful. So she was like, I can donate 2 hours of my time. You can give me the login. If I can't find it in 2 hours, it's probably impossible. I said, look, that's more than what this lady gave me in 34 years. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I gave her the login. As Josephine's on the login, she sees the family tree being created. So she comes over here and say, I narrowed it down. I found our grandmother, and it's between 3 brothers. I'm like, okay, let's, see what she gets, since she is the expert in it, and see where you get, and see if go from there. So 4 hours again just went by. So we contacted her. She was like, I was just about to call you. I'm like, cool. She was like, well, I narrowed it down. I found your grandmother, and it's between 3 brothers. But the crazy part is, I know your aunt. She was like, do you mind if I contact her? I said, well, go right ahead. I don't know how to explain this to her.
Jeez.
But how would I explain that?
Break down at this point, if you guys don't mind. How is the family alignment? So you got the aunts, the uncles, the brothers, the dads, the whites, the blacks. So at this point now, you guys have found out, who do you know that all of this is your family and everything? As of now, if you could just break this down so we understand, like, all the relatives that you found throughout this way and you've ended up with that you didn't know.
Well, the only person we knew as this was me, her, another brother, and another sister. We knew about our siblings.
It's 13, according to our birth certificate, and the father listed because he's a pimp. We're the 13th sibling.
Okay.
He had it was 2.
But we're the youngest out of all of them.
Right. My bio father, he has a daughter who lives out the country, but she go to school here. No communication, no. Like,
out of all our siblings, the only one communicated is pretty much me and her.
Yeah.
Only because the ones that the bio mom have, she's able to manipulate them because she pretty much raised them. So because me and Joe we do things different, and we know bull crap when we hear it, so we don't fall for wooden nickels. It's easier for her to manipulate them, so she better have a relationship with them, because it's not gonna fly over there with us, like, at all.
Yeah.
And she's currently still
like to get back to how DCF did us. So when we went back to them, we was abused, we was neglected. She ended up getting, now mind you, this is 1993 to 96. She was getting $4,000 a month in income from Social Security and welfare for 4 kids. We made her income. So when I say we made her income, with her children there, she got 4,000. When DCF removed her kids, meaning we have all these documentation, she had 0 income. But she was getting $4,000 in drugs because she lived in an abandoned house. She didn't pay rent.
They left us in that abandoned house and had the audacity to put it in our DCF records too. Mm-hmm. They admitted in our DCF records that she's a manipulator, but they didn't realize that she was getting manipulated. They admitted that they was getting so many phone calls. Somebody called DCF on our birthday and didn't even have the present enough to take us out of the house. Like, that was a gift alone.
Right.
Forget the cake and ice cream.
Yeah, right. They's coming to see you.
No, take me out of here. Don't come see me. Leave me. Take me.
Right.
Save me, somebody. And
so
that was the thing.
When they came and did the removal in 96, it was March 20th of 96. It was with the abandoned house. So wherever she moved after that, that house was in my name, and I got an eviction in my name from that. And when DCF said they was doing visitations and all of that, and they did a thorough background check, they didn't do a thorough background check. The house was in my name. She burnt our credit up.
I had to file bankruptcy before I was 26. When I moved out of my first apartment, I was 18. My mother was helping us when we were working, and she would put the money aside and so we can furnish our house. At that time, I had a child. So I move in, and what's the first thing you want to get? Internet and cable, right? I'm on the phone sitting on the floor, and I'm on the phone with Tom on the cable.
You guys.
And they're like, you can't get services in your name. You owe $500 and something. I'm like, how do I owe y'all at that time? They're like, from 97. I said, ma'am, do the math. I was 10. How do I have to explain any of this? How? So then my Josephine put it in her name. So I'm like, okay. So the next day I'm in college as well. My mom picked me up and I go get the energies in my name because I want to be a good tenant and I have to owe them, right? I'm sitting there and I guess I sat in there too long because I went from the lady at the counter and I had to go on the phone. When I get on the phone, they're telling me I owe $4,000 because in 97, she had her re-energies in my name. So as soon as my mother walked in, she looked at me, my face just dropped. She said, she got it in your name, didn't she? I said, yeah. Mm-hmm. Then when I call her, they get on the phone, her boyfriend get on the phone and tell me, my mother did it to me and I still can't get it out of my name. I said, you proving my point. If you couldn't get it out in the 80s and the 70s, how am I supposed to get it out now?
Right.
Listen to what y'all saying. You messed my credit up before I can even establish credit. Not to mention, when we aged out, there was none of the resources that they're giving everybody else, and they don't realize it didn't help us. When we aged out, there was no, as they keep saying, an exit letter. I don't even know what that is, but we was never given that. There was no resources, and the resources that was put on my DCF records were all put on my mother to do. How to cash a check, how to do this, everything was a resource that my mother had to give. The state of Wisconsin did not have not one resource that they put down that they had gave us. Down to us aging out after 19 years of being a DCF. No Social Security check was ever given to us as they give it to the rest of them. There's no housing voucher. There was nothing given to us. Nothing. I couldn't even prove that I was in foster care when my mother filed me on her taxes when I lived in Mississippi because the birth mother filed me on her taxes illegally when I didn't even live with her and put her down as a mother. I have not lived with you in 14 years and you go and file me on your taxes.
Wow. So
they took right now they're being garnished for a decision she's making, and all because I couldn't even prove that I was even in foster care. We are considered emancipated. One point we went from the property of Wisconsin to nobody.
That's what I'm saying. It's like there's all these good, suitable parents that want their kids back, and every time they try to get their kids back, DCS moves the goalpost and keeps teasing them and not giving their kids back. And there's suitable
we still
parents
want to get adopted by them.
But then there's parents like, the birth parents, like your birth person, you say, because it's that bad, that had you, and they're throwing you guys at these people when the suitable parents can't get their kids back. It's like opposite.
And you know what? When people like, I can't see how the neglect happened like this, I said I do. You forgot all them horror stories about them caseloads? I was one of them. I was born in 87. That's when all the caseloads was so high that they was not even. The crazy thing is, when we looking at our records, how in the world one social worker is saying the exact same thing, and when I say the exact same thing, the words is the same. The exact periods is in the same thing, which means y'all copied and pasted this, man. Y'all didn't come see us, and half the time y'all did, you couldn't find us. We had PTSD so bad when they came to visit us, we were hiding under the stairs. We were hiding in the washing machine and dryer. We done hid in the insulation of the walls and was itching from the fiberglass. So how did you sit down and have a conversation with us?
Wow.
We did not have PTSD until DCF stepped in and took us out of the comfort home that we was in, the stability. it was never in the best interest of the child to take us out of that environment, to put us in that whirlwind. And then after that, y'all getting calls every day.
Wow.
Every day. Then you go out there, and then what you do? You schedule an appointment with a crackhead. What she gonna do? Go furnish the house because this is her income. As soon as she leaves, the furniture walk out with her.
There's a federal study done, and it's I forget the name of this study. It's like the national strategy, something like this, to decrease preventable child deaths from neglect. And it says the single most predictor of a child fatality is not anything to do with CPS reports being indicated, but just on how many calls have been made to the hotline, is the single most predictor of a child fatality. And here, these people were calling daily to report things happening to these kids. It's crazy. They're really lucky. They're miracle twins.
Yeah, well, look at that guest that we have, Corey. I'm sure he won't mind that we say his name. He did the same thing, right, too. He was calling every day because his son was being abused so badly, and the doctors were calling, and everybody was calling. I mean, he was saying there's over hundreds of calls, and never a finger lifted. No one did a thing. How is this, same you guys are sitting there, begging. You literally are begging people to save you.
And it's like Miss G always says, they put the kids where the abuse is.
Mm-hmm.
But it warms my heart today to hear of a nice foster situation, honestly, even though they weren't technically foster and they weren't technically family, whatever you want to call it. But, I thank God for situations where there are, that family was caring even when they got placed back with the drug parents. They were still going to the school and making sure, that warms my heart, though. Do we have Jocelyn on mute? You there, Jocelyn?
Yeah, Jocelyn. No, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Okay,
Look, this how close we live.
Oh, they come in. There they go. There they are.
I lost service and came across the street.
You gotta get out of
No.
So you guys aged out, right? That's how this ended? You guys aged out of your services?
Huh?
You guys aged out, correct?
Yes, we aged out after 19 years.
You aged out after 19. Now, do you still have any sort of relationship or ties with any people that you've come across throughout this horrific adventure? Like, not meaning just families, but like friends or people that you were acquainted with or any of that?
You said like
Yeah, just anybody that, did you get attached to certain people? I mean, you guys, I look at it like this. You guys are struggling to grow up and be who you are. Did you get attached to like some friends or anything, like people that you picked up along the way that you guys still have contact with?
Yes, my 8th grade teacher, two of my 8th grade teachers, the lady who was with Roseleaf Manor, and that was one of the people I told that my mom was abusing and making us do her drug tests. So I still talk to her. Other than that, I try to stay to myself, pretty much. Other than my foster family, though, that's my family. That's a lot of them didn't even know we was not adopted out. A lot of them did not know. They thought we were adopted.
A lot of people did. They thought a lot of people didn't know. And the thing is, when we were with my mom, she made one promise to us, and she said, as long as y'all are alive and till you get grown, I'm keeping this phone number and we're staying at this house. And she kept her promise. She kept her promise. She did not move away from that house until we was in our 30s. Close to 30s. The phone number I remember like the back of my hand. I remember one time it was the older sister and it was me and Josephine, and we sat in front of Washington Park, and we were trying to run away one day to go to my mom's house, and we took her chicken that she made, the bio mom chicken, and we were in a park, and it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. And she had us, the older sister had us in the park looking for the drinking gore, thinking we was getting to my mom's house. It's so funny now because you be like, why are you looking for a drinking gourd to find a house? But she didn't stay that far away from the house that we could have been walking distance. But the crazy thing is we stayed directly in the park, and she could just look out the window and see us. And I think that's what happened. I don't know if she was mad that we ran away or we took her chicken, but she beat the crap out of us.
Yeah.
And then the next day, she ran away from school and left us there. We like, really? But
what type of advice? What type of advice do you guys have for people that are facing the foster system, like young children, I guess, at this point, or any kids that are going through this into young adults? Like, what kind of advice do you guys have for them?
Don't believe nothing they say. They lying. They not there
like
for
that.
you. They there for a check. They smile in your face.
They're
But
not
behind closed doors. You is not their best interest. The only best interest in there is a budget.
You're nobody to them. At the end of the day, they slept real good at night, leaving us in them conditions. You get what I'm saying? But also for the parents that kids that got removed, I personally would tell you, get the best attorney you can. You get what I'm saying? Because what people don't realize is when you are on government assistance, it will be used against you in a court of law. I don't care what resources they're helping you with, but because they're helping you, they're going to say you're not in a financial situation to get your kids back. But also you have to look at, they're the ones paying for your medical. Once they pay for your medical, now they have authorization to everything you don't went to the doctor for. So a lot of DCF are in hospitals, doctor's office, schools, and that's what they're paying for. So say little Johnny goes to daycare and has a bump on his arm, and DCF comes in and investigates little Johnny's mom. The insurance company is going to give them all the records and say, hey, this is not the first incident little Johnny got knocked out on. Because they pay for the records, they can use it against you. And that's what they don't realize. You get an attorney for a family, but the only thing they're doing is negotiating how much time you're going to be away from your child, if you ever going to get your child back. You need a lawyer that you literally paying for that knows civil rights and family law. Because a lot of your rights are being violated as a parent. If you don't know your rights, legal rights, they will mess you up to sun up, sundown. I understand, your kids or child is in child protective service, but also realize they're not your friend. They're not your ally. They're not here to help you. They're not none of your resources at all. At all. I don't care if you're doing the parent services and you got to reach out to them. They're not your resource. They're not. They're here to do their job for the state. If they felt that you was a good parent, they wouldn't even have a job.
Right.
You're very right. Everything you're saying is to keep going because you're 100% spot on.
And that's the thing. Like even our rights are being violated as a child. When they come get your kid out for anything, the first thing you do is call an attorney. But you need to actually understand what laws was broken. You need to understand what they're charging you with. Because the sick part through all this, the woman that did that to us was never charged.
Really?
Never.
Wow.
Never spent one day in jail.
God.
So imagine going through all this with unjust and still getting messed up by the same system. So not only did y'all take us out of the same predicament and left us in it, you took us out of poverty, you took us out of neglect, you took us out of homelessness, and guess what happened? When we aged out, you left us in that same predicament.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for my foster mother,
where is the care to deal with all the trauma from being removed and being thrown into this stranger like world? And where is it? They don't see you later, bye, thank you for playing. Next, half these people are drug addicts, alcoholics, prostitutes, all of these things. That's what they're creating, and no one cares. How do we get awareness to people that aren't in the system? How does that happen?
Honestly speaking, this is the best platform, and we just keep, like, you was live earlier, and I'm tagging more people. We all got to come together, and we literally got to embarrass the system. Let me say this.
Yep.
We are under a reform law. I have a recording I could play on one phone and let you hear. I recorded this lady. She stood next to Eric Thompson. So Vincent is saying he's from California. California right now are in that reform law. It takes years to develop. It's huh? Huh? Now I'm talking about Vincent, the attorney that's on here. Like, girl, you confusing me. So they is under a reform law in California. Like, she confused me for a minute. So they are. So what happens in that reform law, and when you look it up and you hear the audio that we have, ain't no names in that audio. She may mention it, but I can send it to you. However, it do not. So it's all the violations that come together to reform an act to try to make it better for the future. What about the people it actually impacted? Like, do you know how much violation of civil rights they did to us?
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And you tell me, oh, that reform law was for the future. It wasn't for you. However, you could pull apart my whole record and play with it and manipulate it. And when I get to it, it don't even make sense. I got one record, it's supposed to be one page of 8. I got 3 and 4, 6, 7.
Wow.
But here's the problem. So under that reform law, we said they violated us and how hard it was. Jocelyn tried to commit suicide. She was dead when they found her. It was a toe tag.
Oh my God.
And 2013, how we aged out. So she was back in mental health, and they released her back to my foster parent. So she was down there for 2013 all the way to like 2015 or 16. So my mom and my dad ain't thinking nothing of it, just being our parent. And they filed her and my nephew on their taxes, and they get penalized for $36,000. And you want to know how is this current? Where I'm pissed off because they just got a notice last year. No, they got it in 2013 saying they got owed $36,000 to prove relationship. So I went down south, got my sister, came back, went to the courthouse, the children's court. We wrote a letter to the judge, and requested our last file to show that we acknowledge these are our parents and this is all we got, because we was actually emancipated, which is bull. Emancipated with no resources. So and they wanted us to prove relationship, which was weird because if you filed this on your taxes for 19 years and you got to prove it to the IRS, they already got it. So we end up finding out that my biological mother filed Jocelyn on her taxes in 2003. Which looks like Jocelyn aged out of my biological mother home instead of actually with us, with my mama and my daddy. Because the year after that, we were 17 and they was trying to teach us independence and we filed taxes on our own. So it looks like Jocelyn aged out with her bio mom instead of the foster home.
Right.
And when we try to get the documentation, we got denied by a judge. We got denied by DCF. They never sent nothing. I said, John, maybe our file is too big for them to give it to us. Because I remember when we aged out and the judge told us to look at it, and that was the largest file he ever seen in history because it was 2 of us after 19 years. It's a lot of documentation, which they never separated the file.
Right.
Which proves
Like
that
one
we are
person in a
better
file.
when we aged out.
But you know, you two ladies still amaze me. Your whole story amazes me. Right from birth, you guys were fighting against and beating the odds.
Like a million miles an hour right from the gates.
But right now
Yeah,
they're going after
and you're
my
still doing
mama.
it.
They're going after my mama. They're going after my mama and my daddy right now for the penalties of $5,000 to pay for that. Imagine taking care of some, like, come on now. Y'all taking a Social Security check.
Yeah. Hey, you know, on Thursdays
Like,
I do the CPS Hunting for Justice. If you guys wouldn't mind, leave Grace your information and maybe you guys come on that
I'm
show
hunting
with
for
me.
justice. I'm definitely hunting for
All
justice
right.
because this is not fair. And I feel like, you know, if we can get a bunch of us to come together and show how corrupt it is, we might can actually do something with this that's powerful because it's
there's
horrible.
a lot of us. There's a lot of us out there that are headhunting here.
I like playing with them. I played with them for 19 years. Like, bro.
They ruined your life. They're ruining people's lives. You know, for me, for instance,
no, I want my survivor. I want my survivor benefits, and that way I can make sure. Because my mama and my daddy own land, and with that $5,000, they already took $36,000 for the penalties. Now they coming back for $5,000 more for the same year, 2013. To say prove relationship. 2013, we didn't have access to our DCFL. We just got in 2021.
Hold on, so Joe, hold on. The reason why we just now getting our file is because Josephine got hurt and she applied for her job applied for Social Security for it, right? And the lady made a comment and said, "You just keep giving up." She like, "What do you mean I keep giving up?" They said you was getting it at one point and you just stopped. So she go and request the records from Social Security as a breakdown as who was the payee and how much was being taken. Come to find out, she was cashing on this girl checks while we was in foster care, which would have been money put aside for her once she aged out the system. And when she got grown, she would have had that money in a trust for her and her daughter. That money, she snorted that.
They told me when I aged out, they said when I aged out, I got 26,000. I said, prove it.
Wow.
Because I had $1.96 and a baby to my name. Prove it.
Well, anyone messing with you should know better.
Yeah, sure, huh?
Because you guys fight and beat the odds every step of the way, so they got another thing coming.
I want my survivor. So with a reform law, it didn't include us. It was actually for the future. So when they shook dirty hands, my goal is to try to get survivor benefits
for everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah. Even my parents. And you know what? People have this misconception that because you're a foster parent, you signed up to be attached to a child and then be torn away from them. They didn't sign up for this. They was never a foster parent before we stepped in that house. They became a foster parent to keep us and give us that environment and be our parents and be there for us. So they didn't sign up for this hurt. They didn't sign up to say, oh yeah, 30 years down the line, you're going to owe us all this money and we're going to garnish you for every dollar you got.
Oh, guys, this is crazy.
Right now, listen, as of last week, my mama just got another notice. They said from 2013, she owed penalties for filing Jocelyn. It was $36,000. They was garnishing her and my daddy out of Social Security. Now they in Mississippi, and our goal. Now the survivor benefits and what I say I want is to pay that debt off and give it back to them because they shouldn't be struggling when they provided for us.
It's so nice of you. It's so nice of you.
Like you give back to your parents,
and we still want to get adopted.
Hold on, John. Not only that, but I want my adoption. So if you can help me, listen. I want my adoption, but it's interstate.
Okay.
Because my dad retired, he went to Mississippi, he bought land, had a house built, and they lived there. But I want my adoption. When I aged out, I was never adopted at all. But when I got married to my husband, my mom and my dad are pastors. I said, Mom, you couldn't sign my birth certificate, but you could sign my marriage license. And my mom and my dad and my sister is on my marriage license.
You know that I think Grace is pinging us here. I know we have a lot more to talk about, and I'm going to definitely get in touch with you guys, because if you guys will please come on the show Thursday and let's talk about this, get you guys that justice that you're looking for, and let's figure out a remedy to do it, because there's so many other people out there that need this too. And that's what the basis of the show is. Let's figure out how to do this and do that. But I think, and Stacy, do you have any last things to bring out here before we sign out?
No, I just want to thank the twins for coming on and sharing their story. And I just, like I said, the whole way through, I'm so amazed at their efforts together. And I think, you know, it warms my heart to hear of a nice family that they were able to grow up with, and that they have such a bond that they still want them to be their parents, even though they're adults now. And that's beautiful. And that
our kids only know them. Our kids, my 5-year-old, my oldest child had an encounter with the bio mom, and my sister oldest too. But outside of that right there, they never seen her a day after that. My 5-year-old only know who Nana and Pawpaw is, and that's all it was.
Yeah.
That's Nana and Pawpaw. That's all he knows.
And many blessings to you both and the people that you consider as your family. And I hope you get your wishes, and I hope that you have wonderful holidays together. Many wonderful holidays in the future.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, we'll see you guys on Thursday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern. We will return with these two firecrackers, and we're going to figure out some justice. Stacey, thanks for the time. Grace, fire us up. Get us out of here.
Thank you, ladies.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.